Welcome to the 13 Wishes podcast. Today's guest is the definition of resilience, discipline, and quiet power. At just 22 years old, Olivia Dibernardo has already done what many would consider impossible. She balanced a full college schedule, worked 2 jobs, and commuted 2 to 3 hours each way, all while earning the respect of her peers and thriving in the workplace. Olivia's story is a reminder that success isn't about luck. It's about grit, sacrifice, and showing up even on the hard days. In this episode, we dive into the mindset behind her hustle, the obstacles she's overcome, and how she's building a future that's nothing short of inspiring. If you've ever felt like giving up, like the mountain is too steep or the dream is too far away, Olivia is proof that with focus, heart, and faith in yourself, anything is possible. Let's welcome the incredible Olivia Dibernardo to the show. Hi, Olivia. Welcome.
Hello, Miss Abida. Thank you so much for having me. I'm truly excited to be here.
Okay, so let's start with your early background, meaning when you started college.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about what life looked like.
Sure. So I grew up in New Jersey, and around 12 years old, I moved to Georgia. My father bought a deck business in the North Atlanta area. Went to high school and honestly just adored Georgia. Love it here. And went through high school and graduated in 2020. I made so many amazing friends, but graduating in 2020 was kind of a weird end to our high school experience. So going into college was even tougher than ending high school because unfortunately, the dorms, you were masked up, no clubs. There was nothing that, you could really do in person.
Yes.
It made it really tough to adjust. But once COVID lifted, things really started to turn around for me. That first year of college was extremely, extremely difficult. I know that you and I have talked about, just having mental strains on yourself and not being able to, live fully because you're held back. So I have struggled with obsessive compulsive disorder and anxiety for a very long time. So that first year, just really, not having a lot of friends around and really trying to find myself, it was tough. But nonetheless, I found a great job in Dahlonega, Georgia. I went to school at the University of North Georgia, which is actually a military school. So going in, I wanted to major in criminal justice. But after I kind of went through that year cycle of saying, what am I going to do? I realized that I didn't want to be a police officer, kind of be in that realm or have to go that route in any way. So I ended up switching to international affairs, which I did for 2 reasons. One, I met a woman in college who was a really big inspiration to me, and she was in the Air Force, and she, recommended that route to me, and I really, really dug in. So after I decided that I wanted to take that route, I switched my major. Luckily, a lot of my classes applied, so it didn't fall back at all. But once I got into that route, I realized that travel was really what I wanted to do and learn about the world and the things that it has to offer and all of the bad parts about it too, and realize why that happens, right? I think that's super interesting as well. So I ended up going on a study abroad trip for school for 6 months. I lived in Lille, France, and it was an extremely eye-opening and amazing experience for me. I believe that if I didn't go on that trip, it been away for those 6 months, I wouldn't be the person I am today.
Wow.
I found myself I really feel like really when I was there, which is something that I don't know if I've ever said out loud before, but now that I'm talking about it in this manner, I really truly feel that it is the case. So came back, realized that the Air Force was not going to be the thing I wanted to do. Kind of interested in the business world, but just knew I wanted some type of comfort. So I was looking for internships, really didn't know what I wanted to do, was still thinking maybe I'll go to intelligence, but I knew somebody, and in conversation, they were saying how they have an internship program. Oh, if that's maybe something you'd be interested in, you should apply. It's like logistics. I have no clue what this is. I don't know where the ship is going, where it came from, what's on it, no clue. And I ended up getting the internship. I landed in the inland department and really, really dug in. So that first 3 months of my internship was really project-based, and I was working with the interns and, in those groups in that setting. But after that 3 months, I was not ready to leave. That's kind of that's the pre-story to where it all starts. I got to the end of that internship.
Okay. So, what inspired you to take on such a heavy load with college, two jobs, the long commute, all at the
Yes.
same time?
Yes. So let me get into a little bit of the logistics there as to what I was actually doing at the time that I started this internship. So I started the internship, and throughout that summer, it was 5 days a week. Like I mentioned, I was working in Dahlonega. I had been working at this bar and restaurant pub, Irish pub, in Dahlonega, Georgia. And, so I absolutely adored that place, was a lead server there, was managing their social media, very invested. I wasn't ready to leave and give that part up because it was a good income. I needed it to support myself in what I was doing. And I wanted to travel and I wasn't going to stop. So I knew I needed that. So I would work the internship in the office, of course, during the summer and just work the weekends because that was unfortunately all I could do. Even if I got home, let's say it only took me 2 hours flat to get home and I got home at 7 p.m., maybe I would get to work at the restaurant the rest of the night. That's the kind of mindset that I was in. It was about a 2 hour commute with traffic to the office. And I was, like I said, working that job full time after the internship because at that point I had some days at home. So I was able to work, two full time jobs almost basically, and plus some social media management on the side. And yeah, I think where I found the motivation to do all that was in the fact that it was exciting to me because I knew in my heart that this was the beginning of something and that I was lucky enough to have that was the only part that it was luck, right? Is the fact that I knew somebody. And maybe that wasn't luck, maybe it was fate. But whatever it is, I'm grateful for it. And I took that and I ran with it. And like I said, I didn't let it go. And I knew this was something that I could see myself climbing the ladder in slowly. Maybe I didn't know, but I knew that it was an opportunity for me to climb and get to that next level. And now I feel like I am.
Mhm.
And that journey has been so amazing.
Were there any moments you wanted to give up?
Yes, there is a lot of moments that I wanted to give up because I can romanticize this as much as I want, but at the end of the day, procrastination exists, right? I would have to go to work and then come home and write a 12-page paper or go to work and then I realized, I wasn't feeling good or I was just so drained from the day and then, I got to go to the other job, right? But at the same time, I think what was really helpful was just the support system I had in my personal life at both workplaces. That's something that I would just thank God for more than anything, but definitely difficult times. And with, even just graduating at the same time as I was taking a 2-week solo vacation to Asia after graduation and then moving at the same time. And I was on the way to work at 7 a.m. calling, different airports or travel advisories, things of that nature, just
Yeah.
getting things set. Like that time I never had a second to sit down, which is something I love about myself, but also something
Yeah.
really difficult to manage. So I guess just the every single day, 24/7, fast pace, 100%, it catches up to you. And when it does, you
Mhm.
kind of have to deal with it for however long that happens. But I would rather push, 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 feel it, and just continue.
What about when people didn't understand why you were doing that? How did you handle that? Because that's a lot that you did. So have you ever had the opportunity, have you ever had any circumstances where people try to talk you out of doing it? And how did you handle that?
So I don't necessarily want to say that I ever had anybody try to talk me out of what I was doing because everybody was very supportive. Like that was my number one priority. It still is. And I think people just started to worry, people that were very close to me, maybe, my parents and maybe some close friends. Like I have gotten the comment very many times, like,
Mm-hmm.
slow down. And it's really hard for me to do that. And then, it's tough, right? I would, work a whole week and then I want to go hang out with my family and enjoy that. But I'm so tired that maybe I'm in not as good of a mood but always really honestly having that support. Nobody ever, I was, thankful nobody would, tear me down. I might feel, I sometimes have a feeling of guilt, to be honest, the opportunities I have had.
Yeah.
But I try to remember the fact that I was given them and I was the one who really built upon that. And that's something that's very hard for me to remember.
What was like a typical day for you when with your long schedule with driving to work, going home, doing schoolwork?
Mhm.
How did it look? What was a typical day like for you?
So I'll give you an instance on a day where I was in the office and then maybe on a day where I was out of the office.
Yes.
So, and I'll throw a little personal thing I would like to do on the side, because one thing I will say is that you have to work hard, but you also have to have a little bit of fun to keep the joy in your life.
Yes.
So Wednesdays are always my favorite days. I just think it's a nice day in the middle of the week. So always in the office on those days. Wake up about 6:30. Always try to bring my breakfast and my lunch. Haven't been doing the best job at that lately, but we digress. And make my lunch, head to work. About on that 2-hour commute, I usually try to listen to some kind of, either worship music or maybe, something from the Bible, something
Positive.
Positive. Very
Yeah.
good. And then I always end usually which is, I think this is one of the things that really starts my day on a good note. So I'd like to share it. The last like 15 minutes of my drive, usually to work, I just listen to my favorite songs and just turn it up, put the windows down maybe, and just really kind of let loose for a second before I lock in for the day. I think it really helps. So get to work, have a productive day. It's always nice when you get to go to lunch with your colleagues or have lunch nice outside at our office. But finally go home. Usually would get home around 7, leave the office at 5. I remember some days it would take me, up to 3 hours to get home with the traffic, but I was very committed. I wanted that job. I would get home and I would actually be right in time. I would go to karaoke with some of my friends at the place I would work. And then when I got home, I would have usually, those papers to write. Like I said, there was so many nights where I would come home and just have to, really punch out papers, but writing is something I'm really good at. So it was actually really nice being in international affairs because it was a lot of writing. So schoolwork wasn't necessarily, it was always a lot, like,
Yeah.
many assignments, but it was never too difficult, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So then I would wake up and then work from home the next day. Let's say I work from home, get off right at 5, and then I would be able to start my shift, right at 5 o'clock as well, and then work until 1 a.m. and then probably go into the office the next day and then continue. I'd work 7 days a week. I did it for over a year.
How did you manage that energy? That to me spells burnout. How did you manage
Yes.
that?
Yes. And I completely understand that. Even when I say it out loud, I don't understand it. So I think that me as a person, I'm extremely energetic and I have a lot of drive. And I'm very thankful for that. That's something that's just been instilled by me from both of my parents. My dad is an extremely successful business owner, the most professional man I've ever met, and very, very, very lucky to look up to him in that way. Same with my mother. I think you really have to dig into your support system and let them support you. Like on those days where you're crying or having a breakdown, because it does happen. Panic attacks are,
Mhm.
they're few and far
It's
between,
real.
but they
Yeah.
happen. And, you have to dig into those who support you. If you're lucky enough to have some people in your corner that are going to be able to actively listen to what you're saying and give you a solution or just emotional support, it's so special. I also think that my faith is something that really kept me driven and kind of like outside on the outskirts of that
Mm-hmm.
burnout,
Yes.
because I knew there was a purpose in what I was doing, and I'm kind of seeing that start to come to fruition, and it's really, that's amazing within itself.
Yes.
But other things, like I said, to prevent the burnout and really just keep myself going was making sure that I have something to look forward to. Number one, I'm a big traveler, so always having a trip planned or always having at least maybe like, a dinner with a friend planned next week. Even something like that can bring so much joy, and just keeping in mind that even though I'm going through so much and working through all of this, there's so many people in the world that don't have that and that
Mm-hmm.
are suffering and don't even have enough food or water to drink. And if I'm able to, do work extremely hard for 7 days a week for a year, I'll do it. Of course I have my breaks. Of course I have a few weeks off here and there, but yeah, I think those are definitely some of the most powerful ways I see myself going around that burnout.
But do you journal? I know you said you pray, but do you journal or meditate or go for walks? Are there any Anything that, like spiritually, that you do to keep you grounded?
Yeah. So journaling this is a topic of discussion with my friends often, actually, because it's either you love journaling or you hate it. And unfortunately, I hate it. It's really tough for me to sit down and be alone with my thoughts, number one. So even just going on a walk, like I will absolutely have headphones in listening to something of some sort. I have recently, I've been trying to really kind of get in more to the journaling and, match that with the Bible. And I have some really good friends around me that, meet and do that and study it. So I've been trying to dig into that more and be more present and actually reading that kind of text and understanding it faith-based wise. Also something that is really two more things that I would say faith-based that connect me and keep me grounded. Nature, number one. I'm an outdoors girl. If I could just never wear shoes, I would. I love to be touching the ground, love to be in grass, love to just go to the river and just lay in there. I do it often. You
Yeah.
won't believe me, but it's true. And another thing that I adore is singing. I love to sing. And recently I've been going to this church for a while, and one of my friends, said, "Oh, they might be looking for more singers on stage." I was like, "Oh, like you can ask, like if they need it, like sure, okay,
Yeah.
we can do it, right?" So they did, and I went and met with them and kind of sang for them a little bit, and they're like, "Oh, like okay, this is great, so let's do it." So I have started doing that. I've had two Sundays so far where I've volunteered and sang, and I get scheduled a couple times per month. So that's been really, really fulfilling. It's been bringing me a lot of joy.
I like that.
And yeah, that's something I've just loved lately. I love
Yeah.
it.
Well, when we see each other again at work, you have to sing something.
I'm sure you got it.
Okay, so how did you adjust from graduating high school into college? How was the adjustment into that phase of your life?
So that was definitely an adjustment for sure, but I was very much ready for it, extremely ready for it. So I haven't lived with my parents since the day I moved out for college, and I've moved every single year since. So I knew that when I graduated and if I had secured this job full time on the digital team, which I'm doing
Yes.
now, that I was going to move closer to the office. Excuse me, I mentioned that I went on like a 2 week solo trip. And after I came back from that, I had a couple weeks where I was working that full time job. So going in every single day to the office, still living in Dahlonega, very far away, until I moved. So I moved about 45 minutes south. So now I'm closer to the office and it's easier, but that transition, I was looking forward to it. So it wasn't necessarily too difficult. What also made it easier for me is that the one of my dear friends from Dahlonega that I actually worked with and hung out with a lot is my current roommate and has been for a while. So I have that comfortability, which is really amazing. I would say the biggest part of the transition was just nobody talks about how difficult it is to go from your college lifestyle, even if that is working a couple jobs doing this, you're kind of everywhere, right? You're not 100% into one thing.
Yeah.
You're focusing on school, and these other things are going on to support that. And that makes you very busy. It gives you a lot of opportunity for socializing and a lot
Hmm.
of opportunity to find yourself in different scenarios and learn things about yourself. When you go to the corporate world and you are now working 9 to 5, 8:30 to 5, Monday through Friday, your days look the same for the most part, right?
Yeah.
And after work, it's like, okay, whoa, now like this is like pressure. Like it's 5 o'clock. I have like only a couple hours. What am I going to do? So that was kind of tough at first. And just realizing that it's not going to be go, 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 go anymore. It's going to kind of be like, trucking along. Now, for me, at this point, I was still working Saturdays and Sundays in Dahlonega. So I would still drive there and sleep there, make my money on the weekends, and go back to work. And it was, it was, it was, I think that was a part of the transition that made it easier too, because I still had that connection. I wasn't ready to give up that money I was making on the weekends. So I stayed. But now I've realized I finally dug into that support system I was telling you about. And they're like, Olivia, you need to talk to somebody. And I was like, I should. And so that was something that was really like groundbreaking for me. And I only had to go to 2 sessions to hear the one thing that I just needed to hear. And that was that God created 6 days, and on the seventh day he rested. And I'm not better than God, and nobody is. And that's why we all need a day for rest. And that's, now that I have that, I'm not necessarily working every single weekend, just here and there. And it's so much nicer. So the transition was tough, but it kind of taught me exactly what it needed to, is to take that break and have that day for myself.
That is a good lesson for adults as well, like people who have been in the working world for a while. That's good advice. So
Yeah.
thank you for that.
Yeah.
Was there a moment when you realized I'm really doing this? Like it started to feel worthy, like worthwhile, all of the effort that you put in?
Yes, 100%. So I absolutely adored my time during my internship and my part-time, and I was on a separate team. But once I got on the team that I'm on now, and it was a couple months in, and I had already kind of really like made some moves that I didn't think I was able to make. I had the authority to make or do or take on these types of projects, or produce this kind of script or anything like that. And I was able to do it, and I was getting good recognition from it. And it was at that moment I was like, okay, like I'm where I'm supposed to be. This is it. Like this is what I'm supposed to be doing right now. I know that now, because I felt as if I was good at what I was doing. It took me a while and a lot of hard work to get there. So if it was gonna, I just knew. I had that gut feeling a couple months in, when I finished a couple projects, and I was like, wow, I took a step back. And yeah.
And where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years from now? Because
It's
you
a
have
really,
a lot of ambition and drive.
yes. So my end goal is to live out of the country. I really want to live in just I don't care, to be completely honest. I don't care at all.
You want to travel more.
Just, yeah, just be able to work in the logistics line. I really enjoy logistics. I'm good at it. I think I'm okay at it. And travel and have that be a part of, my work life, and also, be able to come home as well. I don't know necessarily what the travel part looks like for me, but I want to unlock some new visas, if you know what I mean.
I know exactly
So,
what you mean.
but work-wise, my ambitions and my goals are to just take everything in from the position that I'm currently in and that I was past in, and then just continue moving around. And because I want to be the most well-rounded person that I can be, knowledge and business-wise.
Yes.
That way, when an opportunity comes for me to move up or to take that next step, I'm ready for it. I'm more than prepared for it, because I've been preparing for it. I've already started. So my goal is to just continue moving up, get that next promotion, and then see what happens after that. Go to another team, see if I can learn
A different side.
anything,
A
just
different
expand my
side of the
knowledge.
company. Yes. I would recommend it because that's what I did too.
Yes, that's what you did. And I think that that is so commendable, because also the departments you were in were very different from one another. So that must have been a big change.
It was
Yeah.
hard to adjust because it was new, but it was all worth it at the end because
Mm.
with that experience comes knowledge and you have a clearer knowledge of how everything works. So yeah,
Yes.
I would recommend it.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of fill in those empty holes.
So if you can go back to your 18-year-old self now and give advice, what would it be?
To my 18-year-old self, I feel like I know exactly what advice I would give her. I would say focus on yourself and what you want, not what you should do in the eyes of other people, what you want and what you desire. And just chase after that solely, because I think we all have a lot of distractions when we're 18, and a lot of different people in our lives, and a lot of different people telling us what to do, especially like on the track of college, not college, job, corporate, whatever it may be. There's so many different routes. So I know the path that I took was right. Um, and I don't think I wouldn't change anything I did. Absolutely not. But
Yes.
I would have just, said, just continue that confidence that you have, and don't let it go. I have, on that topic, I always feel, just a confident person. It runs in my family. And I always, like I said, kind of feel like almost guilty about it. And I was talking to one of my mentors, I would say, at work. She is just such an amazing woman. She has been a really big pillar in my life, not only corporate wise, but personally. And I was telling her about that feeling. And she told me that there should never be a scenario where you let somebody dull your sparkle or your shine,
You
your
shine.
brightness, whatever it may be, or put out your light. dull your diamond, however you want to put it, because that is just an opportunity for you to not be recognized or be seen for what you're doing,
And
right?
you shut down.
Exactly. And it shuts you down in the end. So that is, I've been running with that ever since. So I think I would tell my 18-year-old self exactly that, is to never let anybody dull your diamond.
I agree, because that exact thing happened to me. So I will say, believe in yourself, trust in yourself, and don't believe what other people says all the
Mhm.
time. Once you feel it's the right thing to do and it's your intuition, trust it.
Exactly.
And what do you like to do, like personally? What do you like to do for fun?
I love that question. That's like the best part of my life, is my like fun, adventurous personal life.
Yeah.
I love traveling. So when I travel, it's not vacation ever. It's like I'm coming back with cuts and like, very
You
intense stuff.
experience life. Yes.
Yes, I love danger. Like truly, I love adrenaline. So I'm an adrenaline junkie. So if I'm not traveling, you'll probably find me riding my motorcycle.
Well, I saw a video of yours climbing up to Machu Picchu, the
Yes.
top
Yep,
of Machu Picchu.
that was a
Yes.
good one. That was an
Yeah.
amazing trip. Highly recommend Peru. But no, when I'm home, I love to ride my motorcycle. My dad and I will go on weekend trips. It's such a great time with him. I love to roller skate, actually. I have quads, so sometimes I'll just take those out and do some tricks and just play around on those. Love to cook. Big chef. So that's something that's really stress relieving for me. I just like to find things in my like free time. If I'm doing them alone, I like to find things that just distract me and kind of like put me in another world. So like swimming, like being outside in like any type of river or creek is like my ideal spot. Motorcycling or cooking. Like those just like they wash my brain away. It's
Yeah.
great. But I also absolutely adore doing things with my friends. I have like a good awesome friend group. So we love to just get out and do whatever, be crazy and swim and cook, have
Yeah.
fires. So, just really spend it with good people and good
Yes.
food and good drinks.
What is your advice for someone who feels like their dreams are too far for them?
Well, for one, I would acknowledge that that is extremely valid, because you asked me earlier, where do I see myself in 5 years? And that's what I hope, is that I will be, in a position of leadership and well respected. But I have to do the work to get there. And it does feel extremely overwhelming. And sometimes I feel like I won't achieve that. Like that mountain is just too big.
Hmm.
And when I think that, I've had to kind of correct my thinking process, because automatically you want to go, okay, well, if that's the case, like I'll just answer that email tomorrow. It's not that important. Or like you just, you don't care as much. You're not
Hmm.
motivated. So that doesn't work for me, because that makes me feel very unfulfilled.
Hmm.
So like that feeling, when I have that feeling, it's I have to do something about it, because it kills me. And I know how hard it can be to hold on to that feeling and not let it go either, right? You get stuck on it. And I've had times where I've been stuck on it for months. I think I was just telling you, Abita, I was just not feeling my best at work. It's like, what am I doing? Like, and when I feel this way, I just try to focus on one thing at a time. One thing, right? So, maybe you have a ton of projects going on and you just pick one and you get one done. Doing one thing for yourself, or just one thing that is not even for yourself, for, whatever you're working towards, or something off the to-do list, right? That feels good. Start it. Just start it. Just start one thing and see what happens, because I promise, you start one thing and you'll be surprised as to how much you can finish, and to how much you can do, and to the fact that you won't even realize you're doing it.
Yes. Very good. Very good advice. One last question I have for you. So, what is one wish that you would like to see for the world? I know it's a broad question, but what is
That
one wish that you can see?
that's a great question. That's a tough question too. I'm so curious as to what your answer would be as well. I think my wish to the world would be to have faith. For everybody to have faith. And I don't even mean that in a religious
Hmm.
context, just faith, blank point, period. To know that even what you're facing right now, whether it's just something little that's an inconvenience, or it's something, distraught that you are really having a tough time dealing with, there is something on the other side of that. And it's it's hard to ever get excited for it when you're in that moment and feeling that
Mm-hmm.
way. But
Yeah.
once you're on the other side, you realize that, you know, it makes life better just to know that something good will come.
Yeah.
So my wish for the world is that each human can realize the power that they have to, control their lives and make it what they want. And to also, that everything will work out and there's a reason for everything. That's kind of a lot of words, but
I love it. And it goes along with mine because you asked for my own, right? My own
mhm,
is peace for every person to know that and to feel peace inside because nobody knows what someone else is going through and what
absolutely.
challenges they have, what fears and insecurities that others portray on them that they feel uncomfortable. That's just one circumstance, but I just wish everybody could just feel that peace and happiness inside.
It's a great wish. It's special when we feel that way.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
fe
So that brings us to the end of another inspiring episode of the 13 Wishes podcast. And a huge thank you to Olivia for joining us today and sharing her incredible journey. I hope today's conversation lit a spark in you, a spark to dream bigger, to believe deeper, and to take bold steps towards your life. If today's episode is helpful, please take a moment to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs the motivation and guidance right now. And don't forget to follow us on social media. Links will be below. Until next time, I'm Abida Thompson, and remember, your journey matters, your voice has power, and your dreams are valid. Keep wishing, keep working, and keep showing up for yourself. Thank you, Olivia.
Thanks, Avita.
Bye.
Bye.